Shadows beyond the stars. The observation deck of the Viridian Consortium vessel Harmonic Inquiry hummed with the soft sounds of advanced technologies working in perfect synchronization. Commander Ilara Thez stood with her forearms clasped behind her back, her iridescent scales catching the light of distant stars. Her large, compound eyes carefully studied the holographic display floating before her, showing energy readings that defied all consortium classification protocols. Anomaly confirmed. Commander, Science Officer Vril announced, his voice resonating through the specialized vocal chamber in his throat. The readings are consistent across all spectral bands. Whatever this is, it's unlike anything in our archives. Ilara's antennae twitched, a subtle sign of curiosity among her species. The Viridian Consortium had mapped and catalogued nearly 60% of this galactic arm over the past 3 millennia. Their scientific and diplomatic vessels had made contact with 42 distinct civilizations, bringing them into the peaceful fold of intergalactic cooperation. Yet somehow, they had missed this. Distance to the anomaly, she asked, her voice calm despite the growing excitement among her crew. Approximately 0.7 light cycles. Commander, Navigation Officer Zen replied. The anomaly appears to be originating from the third planet of an unremarkable G-type star. Previous scans categorized the system as potentially life-bearing, but pre-technological. Ilara tilted her head, a gesture that indicated she was accessing the ship's historical database through her neural implant. Last survey of this sector was nearly 200 cycles ago. Priority was given to systems with obvious technological signatures. She paused, considering the implications. It seems something has changed dramatically. Commander, Communications Specialist Thila interrupted, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with urgency. We're detecting organized transmission patterns from the anomaly. They appear to be communication signals. The bridge fell silent. First contact was a rare privilege, even for seasoned consortium officers. Most species required thousands of years to progress from basic tools to interstellar communication. To witness one that had seemingly leaped forward in just 2 centuries was unprecedented. Prepare for approach vector, Ilara ordered. Standard first contact protocols. Silent running until we've had time to observe and understand. The Harmonic Inquiry adjusted its course, its organic metallic hull shifting to absorb all emissions. As a science vessel, it was designed for observation and peaceful encounters, carrying no weapons but equipped with the most sophisticated sensors in the consortium fleet. For 3 orbital cycles of the unidentified planet, they watched and listened. The transmissions were chaotic, thousands of different signals in hundreds of languages, broadcasting everything from mathematical formulas to entertainment. The species called themselves humans, and their homeworld Earth. But what truly stunned the observation team wasn't the content of their transmissions, but what they discovered at the edge of the human solar system. Commander, you need to see this. Zen's voice cracked slightly as he transferred the image to the main viewing pane. The image materialized, and gasps echoed across the command deck. Orbiting the 7th planet of the system was a vessel of staggering proportions. Unlike the flowing, organic designs of consortium ships, this craft featured sharp angles, geometric patterns, and most alarmingly, what appeared to be weapon systems covering significant portions of its hull. Size comparison, Ilara asked, her outer membrane paling slightly. The vessel measures approximately 1.8 kilometers in length, Commander, Vril answered, checking his readings multiple times. Our Harmonic Inquiry would fit inside its launch bay with room to spare. The consortium considered the Harmonic Inquiry at 0.3 kilometers to be a substantial scientific vessel. This human ship dwarfed anything in their records except for the legendary generation ships of the extinct Aryan civilization. What class of vessel is this? Ilara demanded, her professional composure momentarily slipping. Unknown, Commander, Vril responded, his upper limbs working frantically across sensor displays. But based on design configurations and energy emissions, it appears to be a warship. The concept was almost foreign to the crew. The consortium had eliminated warfare among its member species 1,200 years ago. Their security vessels were little more than patrol craft, designed to protect against natural hazards or the occasional outbreak of piracy. "They're moving," Navigation Officer Zen announced suddenly. "Changing course. Commander, they're heading directly toward us." Ilara's secondary hearts quickened their pace. "Have we been detected? Our cloaking field should be." "It appears they possess scanning technology beyond our current understanding," Vril interrupted, unusual for his typically deferential manner. "They've penetrated our absorption field with some form of quantum-based detection system." "Initiate first contact protocols," Ilara ordered, her voice steady despite the tension building in the command center. "Transmit greetings in all standard formats." Minutes passed as the massive human vessel grew larger on their viewing panes. Now they could discern details that sent ripples of concern through the crew. Scorch marks along the hull suggesting previous battles, recently repaired sections, and weapon emplacements that were clearly designed for actual combat rather than ceremonial display. "Commander, we're receiving a response," Thela announced, her bioluminescence flashing with surprise. "It's already in our language. They've analyzed our greeting transmission and formulated a response in perfect consortium standard." The main display shifted, and the bridge crew collectively held their breath. The being on screen looked vaguely similar to several known Bictal species, but with distinct differences. It had only two eyes set forward in a flat face, no protective outer carapace, and lacked the enhanced sensory appendages common throughout the consortium. Most striking was its confident posture, relaxed yet alert, suggesting a predatory evolutionary path. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Alliance warship UES Avalon. We detected your vessel observing our system and have been monitoring your activities for the past 72 hours. We mean no harm, but request immediate identification and statement of purpose." The calm, measured tone contrasted sharply with the implicit threat of the massive warship, now positioned less than 50,000 kilometers from the harmonic inquiry, well within weapons range, if the humans chose to use them. Ilara stepped forward, her scales shifting to a formal diplomatic pattern. "I am Commander Ilara Thez of the Viridian Consortium vessel Harmonic Inquiry. We are a scientific and diplomatic mission, and we welcome peaceful contact with your species." The human, Admiral Chen, nodded slightly. "On behalf of the United Earth Alliance, I extend peaceful greetings, Commander Thez. We've been exploring beyond our solar system for several decades, though this is our first encounter with an organized interstellar civilization." This statement sent waves of disbelief through the bridge crew. How had they missed human expansion? More importantly, how had this species developed interstellar travel so rapidly? "Your ship design is unique among those we have encountered," Ilara noted cautiously. Admiral Chen's expression remained neutral, though the crew's sent-up psychologist later suggested the slight movement of facial muscles indicated amusement. "The Avalon is our first deep space capital ship. We maintain a strong defensive posture as we explore unknown regions. Our history has taught us caution." As they spoke, the harmonic inquiry sensors continued analyzing the human vessel. What they discovered was increasingly concerning. The ship's power readings suggested energy capabilities far exceeding consortium technology. What appeared to be weapon systems remained inactive but ready, and there were many of them, suggesting a civilization that had developed through conflict rather than the guided evolution preferred by the consortium. "We would welcome the opportunity for cultural exchange," Ilara offered, following diplomatic protocol while processing this troubling information. "The Viridian Consortium embraces peaceful contact with all sentient species." "Agreed," Admiral Chen replied. "We have much to learn from each other. With your permission, I would like to arrange a formal meeting. You're welcome aboard the Avalon, or we can send a diplomatic team to your vessel, whichever you prefer." The suggestion of bringing humans aboard their relatively defenseless science vessel sent ripples of anxiety through the crew, but protocol was clear. "We would be honored to host your diplomatic team aboard the Harmonic Inquiry," Ilara responded with practiced calm. As arrangements were made for the meeting, Ilara turned to the sensor displays. The more they learned about the Avalon, the more questions arose. Its hull contained alloys unknown to consortium science. Its energy emissions suggested propulsion theories the consortium had considered but abandoned as impractical. Most concerning were the battle scars visible on the human vessel, patterns of damage that suggested conflicts far more intense than the occasional pirate encounters known in consortium space. These humans had clearly fought wars, serious ones, and survived. "Commander," Vril approached, his voice lowered. "I've analyzed their transmission patterns. Before they contacted us, they sent a high-density data burst toward their home system. It appears they've already informed their government of our presence." Ilara's primary heart skipped a beat. Meaning, Vril continued, that somewhere beyond our sensors, there may be more ships like the Avalon. Possibly many more. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Harmonic Inquiry had been hastily reconfigured to accommodate human physiological requirements. The curved walls displayed serene images of consortium homeworlds, while the air carried light scents designed to calm the nervous systems of most known species. Everything had been arranged according to perfect diplomatic protocol. Nothing, however, had prepared the consortium representatives for the actual presence of humans. When the transport shuttle from the Avalon docked with their vessel, Ilara and her diplomatic team waited at the airlock, a traditional greeting party arranged in hierarchical formation. The airlock cycled, the doors slid open, and 5 humans stepped aboard. They were smaller than expected, the tallest barely reaching Ilara's shoulder. Yet they carried themselves with a presence that seemed to fill the chamber. Admiral Chen led the group, flanked by what appeared to be military officers and scientific personnel. Each wore a uniform adorned with symbols that the consortium's cultural database couldn't identify, likely representing achievements or rank. What struck Ilara most wasn't their appearance, but the subtle differences in their movements. Most spacefaring species developed a characteristic grace from generations, lived in varying gravity environments. These humans moved with a weight and surety that suggested they were accustomed to significant gravitational force, a telling sign of a species evolved on a high-gravity world. "Commander Thez," Admiral Chen extended a hand, then quickly adjusted the gesture to the traditional consortium greeting, a sign they had studied the greeting transmission carefully. "Thank you for your hospitality." "Admiral Chen," Ilara responded, mirroring the gesture. "The consortium welcomes this historic opportunity for exchange between our civilizations." As the formal introductions proceeded, Ilara couldn't shake the growing realization that humanity represented something the consortium had never truly encountered before, a species that had reached the stars not through guided evolution or peaceful development, but through the crucible of conflict and competition. The implications were as fascinating as they were concerning. What kind of galaxy would it become with humanity among the stars? The weight of steel and stars. The central atrium of Outpost Serenity gleamed with the collective technological achievements of 17 different species. Curved walls of self-healing bioplastic rose toward a transparent dome that revealed the swirling purple gases of the Caspian Nebula. Dozens of diplomats and scientists from across the Viridian Consortium moved through the space, their varied physiologies a testament to the diversity of life that had flourished under the peaceful guidance of the ancient alliance. Yet all attention focused on the 5 humans standing at the center of the chamber. 3 standard cycles had passed since first contact with the UES Avalon. In that time, the Consortium Council had convened an emergency session. Scientific teams had analyzed every scrap of data collected on humanity, and diplomatic experts had established preliminary communication protocols. Now, the first formal summit between humanity and the Viridian Consortium was about to begin. Commander Ilara Thez stood at the entrance, watching Admiral Chen and her team with a mixture of fascination and apprehension. In the days since their initial meeting, 3 additional human vessels had arrived, smaller than the Avalon, but no less intimidating in their angular, purpose-built design. The consortium's long-range sensors had also detected unusual spatial distortions, suggesting that humanity possessed faster-than-light technology, fundamentally different from the dimension-folding approach used throughout the known galaxy. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? High Counselor Vec materialized beside her, his gaseous form contained within an ornate environmental suit. As one of the eldest members of the Consortium Council, Vec had witnessed first contact with 11 different species. I've never seen the atrium this crowded for an introduction ceremony. The humans generate interest, Ilara replied diplomatically. They generate fear, Vec corrected, his tone matter-of-fact rather than accusatory. Not without reason. Their technological development curve defies all established models. Our preliminary analysis suggests they advanced from atmospheric flight to interstellar travel in less than 3 centuries. Ilara's scales shifted in a pattern indicating concern. Such rapid advancement usually indicates outside influence, perhaps another spacefaring race. No, Vec interrupted. We've analyzed their historical transmissions. They did this entirely on their own, driven by something we haven't seen in millennia. The environmental suit hummed as Vec moved closer. Competition, conflict, war. The concept remained difficult for Ilara to fully comprehend. The consortium had spent thousands of years guiding member species toward peaceful cooperation. The idea that advancement could come through struggle rather than harmony challenged foundational principles of their civilization. The summit is about to begin, Vec noted, his form shifting to a more formal configuration. Remember your diplomatic training, Commander. Humans appear to communicate as much through what they don't say as what they do. The delegation moved toward the central chamber where representatives from the consortium's 17 founding species awaited. Admiral Chen and her team stood straight, their posture reflecting military discipline even in this diplomatic setting. Ilara noticed that while they had removed what appeared to be ceremonial weapons, the subtle bulges in their uniforms suggested concealed devices, perhaps communication tools, perhaps something more concerning. High Counselor Vec floated to the center of the chamber. On behalf of the Viridian Consortium, representing 17 primary species and 26 associate civilizations spanning 12,000 years of peaceful cooperation, we welcome humanity to the galactic community. Admiral Chen stepped forward. Despite being physically dwarfed by many of the alien representatives, her presence commanded attention. On behalf of Earth and the United Earth Alliance, representing 8 billion humans and our colony worlds, we thank you for this welcome. Earth extends its hand in friendship and looks forward to peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture. The formal greetings continued, each species following ancient protocols. When the ceremonies concluded, the real discussions began in smaller chambers designed for substantive dialogue. Ilara found herself assigned to a cultural exchange session with Admiral Chen and a human scientist introduced as Dr. Marcus Okafor. Your civilization's development timeline is quite fascinating. Ilara began, activating a holographic display showing the information gleaned from human broadcasts. You appear to have advanced from primitive combustion engines to fusion power in less than 2 centuries. Dr. Okafor smiled, a gesture Ilara had learned indicated pleasure or amusement. Necessity drives innovation, Commander. Earth's resources are finite, and our population growth created challenges that demanded technological solutions. Our historical analysis suggests something more significant. Ilara ventured carefully. Your most dramatic technological leaps appear to coincide with periods of global conflict. A momentary silence fell over the room. Admiral Chen exchanged a glance with Dr. Okafor before responding. You're correct, Commander. Much of our early space technology emerged from missile systems designed during what we call the Cold War. Our materials science advanced dramatically during global conflicts. It's not something we're proud of, but it is our history. Before Ilara could respond, her communication implant pulsed with an urgent signal. Forgive me, she said, rising quickly. There appears to be a situation requiring my attention. In the corridor outside, Vril waited, his normally calm demeanor visibly disturbed. "Commander, we have a problem. The Ketvari delegation has just arrived." Ilara's scales darkened with concern. The Ketvari were among the newest additions to the consortium, a reptilian species known for their territorial aggression and only recently integrated into the peaceful alliance. Their presence at this sensitive first contact was unexpected and potentially disastrous. "Who authorized their participation?" she demanded. "They claimed jurisdictional interest in this sector," Vril explained. "Technically, under consortium charter, they have the right to participate in first contact proceedings within contested space." "This sector isn't contested," Ilara objected. "It is now," Vril replied grimly. "They filed a formal claim 3 cycles ago, immediately after news of the human discovery reached the Council." Ilara hurried back to the central atrium, arriving just as the Ketvari delegation entered. 6 towering reptilians, their scaled bodies adorned with ceremonial armor that barely concealed functional defense systems, strode into the chamber with predatory grace. Leading them was Supreme Commander Kavash, his scared face and missing eye a reminder of the violent history of his species before joining the consortium. Across the chamber, Ilara saw Admiral Chen watching the new arrivals with the calculating gaze of someone assessing a potential threat. The human's hand had moved imperceptibly closer to what Ilara now suspected was indeed a concealed weapon. "The Ketvari Empire acknowledges the presence of the new species," Kavash announced without preamble, his translator converting the hissing speech to consortium standard. "We claim primacy in all diplomatic and territorial negotiations as the dominant security force in this sector." High Counselor Vec moved forward, his environmental suit glowing with diplomatic patterns. "Supreme Commander Kavash, we welcome your delegation's participation, but remind you that this is a peaceful exchange following established first contact protocols." Kavash's reptilian features formed what Ilara recognized as a dismissive expression. "Protocols created by species who have forgotten the true nature of the universe." His gaze fixed on the humans. "These creatures have constructed warships. They understand reality better than the consortium has for millennia." Admiral Chen stepped forward, her movement causing the Ketvari guards to tense visibly. "Supreme Commander Kavash, I presume." "I'm Admiral Helena Chen of Earth. While we appreciate your interest in our civilization, Earth recognizes no claims of primacy or dominance. We enter the galactic community as equals, not subjects." The chamber fell silent. In 3,000 years of diplomatic history, no newly contacted species had ever directly challenged a consortium power. The Ketvari delegation's secondary eye membranes flickered, a sign of surprise or aggression. "You speak boldly for a species with a single star system and a handful of ships," Kavash replied, moving closer to Admiral Chen in what was clearly meant as an intimidation display, his massive form towering over the human. Chen didn't step back. "We speak as we find necessary, based on the situation presented to us." Her voice remained calm, but Ilara noticed the subtle shift in posture. Weight balanced on the balls of her feet, hands relaxed but ready. This was a warrior's stance, not a diplomat's. The tension in the chamber peaked as Kavash's hand moved to the ceremonial blade at his side, a gesture no one could mistake for anything but a threat. "Perhaps humans require a demonstration of." His words cut off as alarms blared throughout the station. The main display activated automatically, showing a Ketvari battle cruiser decloaking less than 10,000 kilometers from the outpost, weapon systems visibly powering up. "What is the meaning of this?" Vec demanded, his normally placid tone sharpening with rare anger. Kavash's expression shifted to what Ilara recognized as satisfaction. "A security precaution. The Ketvari Empire takes no chances with unknown species that build warships before diplomatic vessels." Admiral Chen touched a nearly invisible device on her wrist. "Chen to Avalon. Status report." A human voice responded immediately, audible to all in the chamber. "Admiral, we're tracking a Ketvari vessel that just appeared on our sensors. They're charging weapons and have established targeting locks on both the station and our position. Defensive posture Alpha, Chen ordered calmly. No aggressive actions unless fired upon. Before anyone could respond, the station shuddered violently. Warning indicators flashed across the displays as emergency containment fields activated automatically. The Ketvari vessel has fired on the station's communication array, reported the station's eye. Diplomatic channels to consortium headquarters have been severed. Hull breach on level 7. Emergency protocols engage. Kivash turned to Admiral Chen, all pretense of diplomacy abandoned. Now we will negotiate properly, human. Your vessels are outnumbered and outclassed. The Ketvari Empire claims all human territories as protectorates. Your technology will serve our purposes. Chen's response surprised everyone in the chamber. She smiled. Commander Kivash, I recommend you contact your vessel immediately. The reptilian leader hissed dismissively. You are in no position to. Now, Chen interrupted, her voice hardening to something that made even Ilara's scales tighten instinctively. Before you lose your only ship in this sector. Kivash's translator emitted a sound approximating laughter. Your primitive vessel's air. He was interrupted again, this time by his own communication device. One of his officers was speaking urgently in their native language, the translator struggling to keep pace with the rapid delivery. The expression that crossed Kivash's face was unmistakable in any species. Shock. The main display shifted to show the space around the station. The Ketvari battle cruiser hung motionless, suddenly surrounded by 3 human vessels that had seemingly appeared from nowhere. But what truly silenced the chamber was the massive ship that had materialized directly behind the Ketvari cruiser, a behemoth that dwarfed even the Avalon. Allow me to introduce the UES Prometheus, Admiral Chen said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Our first Jupiter-class dreadnought. She was on her shakedown cruise 5 light years away when we first encountered your science vessel, Commander Thiz. I took the liberty of requesting her presence when we detected unusual energy readings from Ketvari space 2 days ago. The display zoomed in on the human dreadnought. Unlike the Avalon's sleek design, the Prometheus was a monument to concentrated military power. Its hull bristled with weapon systems that made the Ketvari cruiser look like a patrol vessel by comparison. Dimensional translocation technology, Dr. Okafor explained to the stunned consortium representatives. We call it jump drive. It allows our vessels to bypass normal space for short distances without entering the dimension fold used by your ships, useful for tactical situations. Kivash's composure cracked visibly. This is impossible. No species develops military technology of this scale before. Before what? Chen interrupted. Before establishing diplomatic relations, before creating a peaceful federation. History shapes civilizations, Commander Kivash. Earth's history taught us to be prepared. She stepped closer to the reptilian leader. It also taught us to value peace precisely because we understand war. Your vessel will power down its weapons immediately, or the Prometheus will demonstrate exactly how seriously we take unprovoked attacks on diplomatic stations. For several tense moments, no one moved. Then Kivash raised his communication device. Stand down weapons. Withdraw to minimum safe distance. On the display, the Ketvari cruiser's weapon signatures faded as it slowly backed away from the station. The human vessels maintained their positions, a silent reminder of unexpected power. A wise decision, Admiral Chen said. Then, turning to High Counselor Vec and the assembled consortium representatives, her tone softened. I apologize for the deception, Counselor. We detected the Ketvari fleet movements shortly after our initial contact and felt it prudent to have additional security nearby. We hoped it wouldn't be necessary. Vec's environmental suit displayed patterns indicating deep thought. Admiral Chen, in 12,000 years of consortium history, we have gradually moved away from military solutions toward diplomatic ones. Many of our member species have forgotten the art of war entirely. A laudable achievement, Chen replied sincerely. Earth hopes to learn from your example. But the galaxy is vast, and not all problems can be solved through dialogue alone. Evidently, Vec acknowledged, glancing toward the fuming Ketvari delegation. Perhaps there is more the consortium might learn from humanity than we initially assumed. The summit reconvened hours later, with a noticeably more subdued Ketvari delegation and a significantly more attentive audience of consortium representatives. As Admiral Chen outlined humanity's proposal for mutual defense agreements and technology exchange programs, Ilara found herself standing beside Dr. Okafor. "Your arrival has changed everything," she observed quietly. "The balance of power, the consortium's approach to security, possibly the future of this entire sector." Okafor nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Change is inevitable, Commander Thiz. Humanity learned that lesson through hardship. We built warships not because we love war, but because we desperately want peace. Peace we can defend if necessary. And the Prometheus, your jump drive technology, these are merely defensive tools." Ilara couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. "Tools reflect their users, Commander," Okafor replied, watching as Admiral Chen fielded questions from fascinated consortium scientists. "In the right hands, even a sword can build a better world." He smiled, the gesture somehow both reassuring and unsettling. "Besides, we've only shown you a fraction of what humanity has developed. Some technologies we keep in reserve, not out of distrust, but caution." As the summit continued into the night, new agreements were drafted, security protocols revised, and the foundations laid for a relationship unlike any the consortium had established before. Not one of mentor and student, as they had expected, but of equals with complementary strengths and perspectives. When Admiral Chen finally retired to her quarters aboard the Avalon, she found High Counselor Vec waiting for her in the reception area, his environmental suit glowing with formal diplomatic patterns. "Admiral, before you rest, I felt I should convey something from the Consortium Council." Vec's translated voice carried unusual weight. "We have existed for 12 millennia, guided countless species to the stars, and believed our approach to galactic civilization was the only viable path. Today has been educational." Chen smiled tiredly. "High Counselor, Earth has existed as a unified government for less than a century. We're still learning ourselves." "Perhaps," Vec acknowledged, "but you've already taught us something invaluable. Peace is not merely the absence of conflict. It is something that must be actively maintained, sometimes through strength as well as wisdom." As Vec departed, Chen gazed out the viewport at the swirling nebula beyond. Humanity had reached the stars carrying the weight of its complicated history, its wars and struggles, its triumphs and failures. That weight, once considered a burden, had proven to be their greatest strength in a galaxy that had forgotten what it meant to stand firm against the darkness. The stars would never be the same again, and perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed.